on this computer.
There we go.
Screen share. Perfect. Okay. Making sure anyone, I won't make Linda be my personal assistant, even though, but I want to make sure that you can see this. Write out 5 situations on a blank sheet of paper, 5 situations in your life where you feel a negative feeling, frustrated, disappointed, emotionally drained, fill in the blank, right? Negative feeling. So if you need to go grab a piece of paper, actually you'll probably need 2, unless you want to use front and back, that's fine. Some examples would be: a friend never texts me back, a coworker is negative, a family member won't change. Darn it, those family members. So anyways, and real quick, I'm Catherine Hood. If we have not met, I see a couple of new faces and a lot of familiar faces in the room. I'll be hosting the next 20 weeks. We'll be reviewing each chapter one at a time. Yeah, so one at a time, not the whole book. I know we had some power readers over the weekend that read the whole book and was sending me messages, really excited, which is great, fabulous. I've listened to the whole book on audio twice, and then I reviewed the first chapter this weekend, but it's so good to revisit it. But I want to give a few moments of silence. I'm going to say 3 minutes just to allow some people to funnel in and allow you to write out 5 situations, 3 to 5. We don't have to be perfect on this, but 3 to 5 situations that are going on in your life that are creating some sort of negative feeling. And just you can journal, doodle. If you can only come up with 1, that's great too. But yeah, things that are creating a negative feeling. I already did this assignment, so for fun.
Okay.
Couple more minutes. All right. Does everybody have at least 1?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the screen share. Yeah, it doesn't let me minimize. So what you'll do next is, on the other side of the piece of paper or a new sheet of paper, you're gonna write a straight line down the middle. On one side will be "in my control." So this whole column will be the things that are in my control, which would be really your own actions, your own self, right? So the other column, the opposite column, will be the let them column. And that would be other people, right? Or things that are outside of your control. It could be the things that might be irritating or frustrating or angering you right now, might be things in another country, another part of the world, or who knows, somewhere outside of your control. So go ahead and take what was written out, journaled out, those issues, those situations that are creating the negative feelings, and put them in one of the two columns. And I'll give you 3 minutes to do that. We got 1 more minute. Hi, Jenny. We're doing kind of a fun little exercise to launch this off. So we got like 30 more seconds or less, and I'll tell you what the exercise was and fill you in. All right, time is up. So I will go first. It's optional to go. There's no requirement in going whatsoever, none at all. And I'll lead. So what I'll lead with is my name, where I'm from, anything I want to share with the group. And then what I noticed in doing this exercise. So I'm Catherine Hood. I am outside of Spokane, Washington, if we haven't met. And what I noticed on this particular exercise was all 5 that I came up with are on the let them column. Like there wasn't a single one that was within my control, not a single one. All of them really had a flavor of managing people, mainly my husband. But it was like all of them were things that are just really silly, really silly. One of them is in regards to my daughter, but it's really about wanting things to be a certain way. And the irritants, the frustration, the annoyance is really just me wanting it to be a certain way. And any of you that have read anything that I've ever written, well, not anything, but some stuff that I've written over the years, you'll know that I have a tendency or a flavor of bossy pants is what I call it. It's kind of like the personality that comes out that I am pretty much always aware of and welcoming and improving and looking at. And so this book, by reading this book, going through this book multiple times, absolutely love it. Really shines a light on the bossy pants, right? So it's silly things to my husband leaving the butt or the ends of the bread, you know, eating all of the whole. I hardly ever eat bread, but what he does is he'll leave the ends in there and just put them back in the refrigerator, and they'll just sit there and forever. He won't eat them. Like, why? That's the best part, isn't it? But anyways, it's silly things like that, wanting things to be a certain way. The bossy pants comes out in the irritants. It's a flavor. And all of the irritants, all the things are, in the grand scheme of things, incredibly small and insignificant. And when I am really grounded, when I'm really in a peaceful mind and really kind of look at these, journal about them, write about them, and add the let them theory to each and every single one of them, I really, it kind of had, it's laughable that these things would be irritants of mine. They're laughable that I want things to be a certain way, and they're all really tiny and insignificant when they're on paper. When I look at them from an observer point of view, when I look at them from the grand scheme of things, right? It's not a, you know, there's not a big bill on my head. Nobody's getting hurt or injured or sick or anything like that. It's all really insignificant things. Anyone else want to volunteer and share what they're observing on this exercise, who they are, where they're from, anything you feel compelled to share? Just speak up.
Okay, I will. I'm Linda's sister, Julie, and I can't get my camera to work, and it's out of my control.
Let them.
But no, it's very good to think that way and just say, I'll, figure it out later. I'm in California. I'm about 25 miles south of San Francisco. That's where
Oh,
I
we're
am.
neighbors.
Your neighbors?
Well, kind of. I could get to your house in an hour and a half.
Where are you?
I'm in Vacaville, in between. It's by Davis.
Oh, I know Vacaville a lot.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
fun.
that's
You're
not
from
far at
California.
all. Well, Linda and I grew up in Walnut Creek.
Oh, well, that's where my husband was born and raised, and went to Las Lomas High School.
Oh, so did Linda.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what year did you graduate, Linda?
81.
Oh, okay.
1981.
Yeah, so he's older.
I'm
Oh.
older, and I went to Del Valle, but then was one of the last graduating classes.
Oh, wow. Well, we
Closed it.
should get each other's emails later. That would be fun to catch
That
up.
would.
Yes.
The whole world.
It is. But see, even with my frustrated on my video, it's a good thing. But when you talked about let them, it's been good to read that. I'm ahead. I went on 3 chapters. I thought I had to finish it, so today I was in panic mode. Reading. But it's very good. Matter of fact, I turned 2 friends onto it, and they're going to start reading it. And then we're gonna meet the 3 of them too, just to talk about it.
Good.
Yeah. And you're right, this is out of my control, so I couldn't think of anything right now that I'm frustrated with because I was so busy on my camera.
So the camera was it.
That was it right now. And before that was no Wi-Fi, but I had no control over that either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank Mel for sure, because I liked this book so much that when we were in a session together, I was like, you know what, this book has been life-changing because it teaches all the things that you teach.
Mhm.
And so she said, well, let's do a book club. And I thought that was so awesome that she just right away just said, let's do it, because she's a let's do it gal. So so here we are. And I had about 10 people that were going to be on today. I don't know where they are, but maybe they're just going to do the recording for now. But I found, okay, so we're constantly evolving. Wait, first of all, is it Linda? Are you done? Am I taking over?
No, go
No,
ahead.
it's okay. I'm her
No,
sister,
that was
Julie. I'm done.
Julie.
Oh,
No,
Julie.
this is good. I need to listen right
Oh,
now.
well, we're constantly evolving. So, maybe a year ago, my list would have been different, but I found that I only had one actually that was on Let Them, and 4 of mine are in my control actually. And so, I thought that was kind of interesting because usually the things I'm frustrated about are always in the Let Them line. But one of the things that I had in my control is I really want a totally organized house, every single closet and every single drawer, and it's bugging me. So that is in my control. And I don't know, are we supposed to read our lists or just kind of
If
talk
you want
about
to, this is our first time meeting, so there's a little bit of rapport and warming up, and who knows, by chapter 20 we all might be real vulnerable and sharing a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I first started with Catherine because I am a parent of, there you go.
There she is.
I just pushed on my camera.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm a parent of 6 adult children, and it was a really hard adjustment for me because I was a stay-home mom and my kids were all superstars in their own right. And I just loved living. I loved being their mother and watching them in all the things that they would do and succeed at. And then all of a sudden they were gone. And I kind of went through a stage of, wow, they don't need me. They don't really even want to call me that much. They don't, there's nothing what can I offer more? And it was really a hard transition for me to feel, initially I felt kind of, wow, I'm not useful to them anymore, and I'm not maybe wanted or something. And that was all in my thoughts. And so Catherine helped me to recreate your thoughts and my thoughts, and everything starts with our thoughts. And we are significant no matter what stage we're in. And we create our life through our thoughts. And I love that. And so why I like this book, Let Them, is because we can create a whole big story in our lives about how miserable we are when something's out of our control. Or we can simply say, let them, let God, let me. And I love the example. I don't know if you've gotten to that point in it where she sees her friends on Facebook Mel sees her friends had this big women's trip without her as she zoomed in, and she was like, oh, I'm the only one not invited. Great. She felt horrible. And all these thoughts started going through her head about how they didn't like her anymore, whatever. And then she finally said, let them and let me. Why don't I organize a trip? Why do I have to depend on somebody else to organize or have, make me a friend? Why don't I make friends? Anyway, I just like that philosophy is let them, let me. And then we added one more, my little hiking group. We talk about this book a lot, and then let God. I like that as a third part. So that's the part we added. But anyway.
Great share. So what is being that the one is in the category that's within your control, how are you going to initiate that?
Well, I always think I can fix everything. Well, you and I have had tons of conversations about this. I'm like, I'm sure there's something I can do to change this situation. I know there is. There's a book. There's got to be a podcast. There has to be. God's going to intervene, and He is going to change this. And it feels really good to let go. personally, when Mel wrote in her book, I've never been able to let anything go. I was like, I started laughing out loud because that's me. I literally cannot let anything go. But what I like about let them is it feels really freeing, because then it adds the second part of let me. And that to me sounds better in my mind than just, I'm just going to let it go. So let them and let me. I need to take some kind of action that's helpful towards the way I process things.
So what I hear and we're going to rephrase this is even with this exercise, even though you only have the one that's in the one category, the let them, let me, let God releases some of the responsibility. It detaches or gives you some space or detachment from having to fix it, realizing that there's three compartments. One that's in my control, one that could be in other people's control, even though we didn't have anything in that category today, which is fine. And then the one to let God take over. And it's taking all of that responsibility off of you. However, you are taking ownership for the things that you are willing to take responsibility and ownership of. That's in that one column.
And I think it's also okay to still ask for a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to say, I'm going to let it go. I'm putting it on the shelf for now. But I still would love to see a miracle happen, but not depend on it. Just say, I would love it if that could happen. You know, and I think there's a lot of things in our life, whether it be relationships, health, finances, whatever it might be, where we just go, you know what, I'm going to need a little miracle here. And if not, I'm going to let I'm going to let this situation, and here's what I'm going to do. And, you know, that's how it's got to be. We have to take the pressure off of ourselves.
So what I'm observing is it's not about, oh, I don't care. It's, I'm hoping for a miracle. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to create a negative feeling. It's not going to create any suffering. It's really putting it in God's hands. It's really saying, here, this is a miracle that I hope for. Put it on a wish board, put it on in your prayers. And if it happens, it happens. It's
and one last thing is like the gratitude part. A lot of times we think, okay, we can't, this is so awful. But once we start really thanking God or whoever people believe in for the refinement that we're getting through this, that's when I think the miracles open up. Anytime I've ever had a miracle in my life, it's because I have knelt down and said, thank you. It's hard to do when something's really hard. I had a health issue once where I had a goiter that was about the size of a grapefruit in my neck. And I'm a singer, and they told me I would never sing again once they had the operation. It was 3 days before the operation. I was 50 years old, and I just knelt down and cried for an hour to God, and I thanked him for all the times I'd been able to sing. And I said, just thank you for that gift. And now if it's going to be taken away, then, you know, so be it. And I woke up and it was literally gone. So it's like a miracle. I ran to my endocrinologist and she was like, I don't know, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist, but that's a miracle. So I found, I guess, for me at least, is when we can really thank God for what we're learning through the hardship or whatever it feels to us, out of control situation, that's when I think miracles start occurring.
Yeah.
You know, at least that's what I've experienced. And I didn't realize what a control freak I was either till I read the prom story. That's in chapter 1 too. Did you know this last thing? I'm not going to take over this. This is the last thing I'm going to say. I did that same thing. That's why I was laughing out loud with my youngest son. I had the corsage in my purse as a backup. So that's all I'm going to say. But anyway.
That's cute. Anybody else have anything to share on the exercise or the first chapter, on the let them, any realizations, insights that you've had since reading? Go for it, Shannon.
I have mostly in my control, and then there's still someone that let them calm. I actually took my few things and of each one, like there's things that I can do and there's things that they can do. But the reoccurring theme is expectations for me. Doing this exercise is, I'm expecting certain things. And there is things I can do. How I respond, if I let it bothers me. And have them be disappointed since I'm not going to fulfill their expectations. But anyway, of this exercise, expectations. And I think also in Mel's book, a lot of her things, like I think she expected to be included in that girls' trip, and she expected the son's girlfriend to wear the corsage. Just a lot of expectation is what's reoccurring for me.
Great ad. That is, I guess, I mean, maybe I didn't, that's a revelation for me, and the fact that I didn't look at it that way. So I love that. I love that share. Would you be willing to share something that you're seeing that fits in both columns, the me plus them, a disappointment for you? Because I get the corsage thing, I get the girls trip with the expectations and how it, okay, let's back up. First, let me ask this. Would the girls trip be in both columns, or would it be in one of the other columns?
I mean, I'm just using her and her example. If I was Mel, I'd be expecting to be included, and that's in my control is to not expect it, right? That's her personal edit, is to not expect it, and to let them is to not include her, which they didn't do. So in my mind, that's why when I made my list, even though there's 4 things on the homework or the exercise, I have multiple things, like 9 or 10. There's just not one. I didn't just assign one. So if, like, for example, my number 1 is expectations from my family. Like, they expect a lot from me, not the ones I'm married to, but like my who I was birthed into. So like my mother expects certain things, my aunt expects certain things. So the expectations is what I mean. And so in my control is how I respond, if I let it bother me, to drop expectations, not to respond to them, waiting to respond, taking deep breaths. So those are things in my control. But also at this same, regarding the exact same expectations from my family, they get to be disappointed. Let them be unhappy with me. Let them be frustrated with me. So in my mind, even though it's just one thing, there's 9 things I just wrote down based on the my one homework thing about expectations from family. So that's just in all my 4 things I wrote down, and in the book too. It seems to be expectations is what I'm picking up a lot.
So
I love that share too. That was so excellent. Thank you so much. What was your name?
Shana, I'm in Idaho.
How do you spell Shana?
Shana.
Yeah.
And I'm a law enforcement wife like Catherine. That time I met her. Both of her husbands are retired, but that time I was in North Idaho for a while.
yeah,
Now I'm in Southern Idaho.
far away. So can we play with the expectations for just a minute longer, maybe a couple minutes? So what is the positive intention behind expectations for you?
I think it's a control thing. I'm definitely a control freak. And I think that you can have an intention without an expectation is my new mantra. I can have an intention. I intend, for family harmony, but I'm not going to expect that the outcome is going to be a certain way. So that's been my reframe. Because at this point in time, someone's kind of losing, my mom's not going to get her way, nor my aunt, because I'm not responding in 4 seconds, and I'm waiting 4 days or whatever. So the intention is there, but the expectation I'm kind of dropping, and someone's unhappy with the behavior of an expectation. It's like being in an agreement without agreeing. Like there's a relationship that was an unspoken expectation that I didn't agree to. And I'm kind of unraveling that with my extended family. Like I didn't agree to respond every time you text me or reach out every other day and give you an update on my life. So I'm unraveling unwritten or unspoken expectations.
Yeah. I really enjoy hearing the reframe. It sounds like you're close to dropping it completely, but it's not, you're still holding on to it somehow.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. It's pretty deep.
Yeah. Or, habit, years and years, maybe decades, you know, these things that clients come to me with wanting help with, oftentimes there's a positive intention in there that they've held on to it, that habit, the thought habit, the behavior habit for decades. I mean, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And to unravel that and reframe it, create a new thought, a new belief, a new way of doing takes time. Not 20, 30, 40, 50 years, with intention, daily intention, being very intentional, observing your thoughts, observing your behaviors, and noticing and kind of slowing down in a way. We could pick up on it quicker, faster, and pivot, right, or reframe and see. What is the need to kind of hang on to it a little bit longer, do you believe?
I think it's an identity thing. I think it's that victim mentality. I love living there, the poor me. I know it's just a negative place to be, and it just like that, and I get attention, right? It's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, like, oh, poor her. If I cry and complain loud enough, I'll get more attention. And I think it's also a part of my personality. Like, oh, Shayna's the strong one, and she always does this for everybody. And I'm just kind of, if I'm not that, then who I am? Almost like Kim was saying with her kids moving out of the house. Like, if you're not that, then who are you? So you know, if I'm not the complainer and not the victim, then who am I? And so just kind of a lot of reassessing who I am without that label or identity.
Who am I now? Right. The victim role, the word sometimes can have a negative connotation. The thing is when we are victim, we all do it. It's a spectrum, right? We do it either at 1% or 100%. There is a dopamine hit when people commiserate with us, when people, we get oxytocin, we get dopamine. We feed off of it when people side with us and agree with us. And I really blame social media for that, right? The thumbs up, the thumbs down, and the commiseration and agreeance and siding with you. And like, I don't blame you, you know, I would feel that way too. And this and that, it really reinforces it. So I'll be curious. Have you read through the whole book? Have you gone through the book?
I did the audio like you did. I listened to it. And I do think that victim mentality is cultural feeds into it. You know, I think that it just adds to that consumerism. Like, oh, you're feeling bad? Buy some chocolate, buy some clothes, do some online shopping. I think there's a whole play with because I feel like people used to work really, really hard. Like, not, you know, I work, but I'm not in the fields digging, and there's not like the manual labor like people used to do. They didn't complain, you know, and I feel like now we have almost everything handed to us, or Amazon brings it in 2 days, and I still have things to complain about. And it's just like, I think society really feeds into that role.
Yeah. So what it sounds like you're working on is the complaining and the blaming. You're wanting to take ownership. And it sounds like to me, you're also protecting yourself from the family piece, right? And kind of maybe giving a little bit more space and distance so you can navigate this identity. Like, who am I, right? When we've lived a certain way for decades or years, same thing like what Kim was talking about, raising kids, you know, I'm a mom and that's what I know. And same thing, empty nest. Those first 3 months was I was shocked. Like, what do I do with all this time, and who am I, and why aren't they calling me? Why don't they need me? You know, so there's a huge adjustment. So I want to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that you're really putting some space. You're really trying to make clear on who you are, and so that'll be fun to see how that goes. So thank you for the share. Anybody else want to share what they're learning, observing, insights, wisdom? Welcome, Amy. Glad you're here. Video's not required, so you don't have to if you're having difficulties. Jenny, do you want to share?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Jenny's trying to get her microphone off. I don't know if I have control of that or not. You try to figure it out. I might pop up now.
Yeah,
Yay!
Honestly, I've only listened to the first chapter,
Perfect.
and I messaged you and it had me in tears. I am very much one of those people who used to worry about what everybody said, everybody would think. And I'm just really looking forward to this whole let them. And I've talked to numerous people just in the past 24 hours. I'd heard about the tattoos. And so, but I didn't understand what they were for. I kind of thought it was silly until I heard her talking about it in her book. And I just think it's really profound. And I think what hit home for me the most was when she made the comment about whether, you know, your dad or your grandpa might say, gosh, why are you doing that again? And that's probably my biggest downfall, is when somebody questions things that I do, and then I get in my head over that. And I'm like, why am I, you know, and you just feel bad and you start to react. And that's just something that I really need to work on. So.
For those that are wondering about the tattoos, that there's a lot of let them tattoos now. I just,
Yeah.
in case you haven't read that far in the book, but it's kind of cool. There's a lot of that going on now.
Yeah, Jenny, I think she says it in the audio, but
She does 3 pages. She says, I don't have the actual book. I ordered the wrong book. I ordered a book called Let Them that I don't even know who it was, but now I got it on audio. And it's my first audio book ever. I have talked badly about audiobooks because I just thought they were silly. And I have to say, I am all in.
sold.
I love her audio, but you know what?
am.
There's an AI version, and that's what happened is somebody took an AI and copied her almost exact cover. And instead of the let them theory, they call it the let them principle, and they copied her exact cover almost. And so to just try to make an extra buck, which I think should be illegal. But anyway, so just make sure you do the let them theory.
Yeah. Yes, I did. And I love that she narrates it as well.
Yeah.
When you put it on Audible, it's actually her voice, which I thought was really cool.
So Jenny, you're in Idaho or Washington now?
I'm in Idaho. I'm in Spirit Lake, northern Idaho.
So I want to, out of curiosity, and what I kind of gathered from what you're saying is your downfall is worried about what people say and think about you, it sounds like, and it creates this spiral, or as you said, a downfall to question, feel bad, react. How is just reading or hearing the first chapter, let them, when that came through on the audio, what was that feeling? What was that sensation? What were the images in your mind when that really resonated with you?
Honestly, it was something so simple that it was silly. And I think that's why the tears just flowed, because I was like, here I am, 47 years old. And the one thing that I tell all of my adult children is everybody's opinion is none of your damn business. But yet, as mom,
yeah, I
don't know how to take my own advice. And it was just really, it was cool because it was something that's not hard. It literally, let them. Who cares? Let them. Are they paying my bills? No. Are they, you know, whatever. And I've never had, I think, Catherine, you have actually, because you've helped me in the past with your happiness coaching. I think you do teach a lot of the same things, I can tell. But just to hear that, it was just so simple and so easy, and just doesn't require anything except for you just to say let them.
I will say that I have a few books that I've read multiple times. Like, I mean, highlighter, doodles, stars, asterisks, sticky notes all over them. And it's interesting how a book, you can read through the whole thing and certain things land, other things don't, whatever. And then you read it again and it's maybe years later or a year later or 18 months later, and you're a different person, right? You hear kind of, I think Kim had mentioned that you're always evolving. and you hear different things, or you're ready for it, right? You're open to it, you're receptive to it. And so that's why I was curious where the emotions were coming from, and what that experience was like, and what images you had. And I love and appreciate the fact that it was so simple, right? Because really the simpler this is, and she talks about it further on in the book, and maybe she's even talked about it at the very beginning, about how simple it is. And that's a big concept I do in my coaching, is make things third grade level, make it real easy. Instead of, the 12 steps, you got to do these things every day and so forth like that. But I love the theory, the let them, let me. And it just really, because I did the audio book, when it first came out. I really appreciate her podcast with her daughter, the one with the two of them. It's like an hour and a half long. It's very long, but very worth it, because her daughter and her are two totally different people. But anyways, the point of it is, what I'm trying to get to is it was a month or so ago that I listened to the audio. And then, of course, hosting this, I was like, oh, I got to get the book, the hard book, which it was on back order. And I finally got it last week. It was really exciting. The thing is, re-listening to the audio, there were like those 5 things that I did on this little quick homework assignment at the beginning. And just on each of them saying, let them, right? I could feel my rhomboids, which is the small muscle in between your shoulder blades, just melt. Just like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not for me to manage. It's not for me to change. It's not for me to please or solve. This is for them, right? One of them is my oldest daughter. She's in this phase in her relationship. They're 2 years into their relationship. And I invite her to things. She lives about 45 minutes away. I invite her to things constantly. And I'm like, well, let's go have lunch. Let's do this. Let's do that. And the boyfriend is there every time. And I'm like, can we just do something together? Just us two. So that was on one of my list items. And when I think let them, it just, yeah, like he's adorable. He's perfect. He's just amazing. He's just so charming and so handsome and so smitten over her. And why not? I'm doubling down on my, what do you want to call it? Children, basically. I get him and her out of the deal. So it's just funny how her brain and her mind will just create something of, I want it to just be her and I, right? Selfishly, me. So it's kind of just having that observer of what created that negative experience, what created this negative feeling. Why did I write that down? Why was this perceived as something that bothered me? When the reality is I'm really fortunate that she has someone that treats her so amazing and incredible. And why wouldn't I want to embrace him and watch them interact together and be silly? And so anyways, it's just, I think it really, for me, it's about being a little more grounded, a little more seeing the whole picture. Yeah. Maybe because you expected it would be just you two. Yeah, exactly, Shana. Expectations. See? So that's why when you said that, I was like, oh, my ears perked up. Expectations always leads to disappointments, is the saying that I truly believe in. And the thing is, and what's interesting in my word, how I just worded that, expectations lead to disappointment, is something I believe in. However, I say that's surface level, right? Just like I used to believe happiness was an inside job, my behaviors didn't show that. Meaning, the beginning of my journey before being a coach, I believed that having a big house, fancy cars, money, traveling around the world, and having all the things and having a perfect body, I would finally be happy. Well, I'm telling you, I went on that whole journey, got all the things, crossed out everything, and checked every single box, and I was at my most miserable. So that's the start of my coaching journey, right? So just by me having an expectation that it be us two sets me up for disappointment. And when we don't see that we think one way and our behaviors actually show a different belief, there's something deeper, right? There's
Not in alignment with it.
exactly. Yeah. So thank you, Shayna, for that. That's very valuable. Anybody else have thoughts? We have like 12 minutes left. Thoughts, questions? Go for it.
I was just thinking, I'm Kendra, I'm from St. Louis. I'm Kim's sister too.
He's amazing.
Oh no. But I was just thinking, I actually just got done with the whole book. So then today, like a half hour before, wow, something is ringing. I was like listening to it really fast on like 2.0 so that I was like, okay, what was that first chapter? Because I don't have a real copy, so I couldn't just like scan it. And so I was trying to remember what it was about with the prom story and stuff. But I was just thinking when you gave us this little assignment, like what is it to not be in control? Like what's in my control is what you kind of asked. And it's how we react, right?
That's it.
And I thought about these words and tell me if you agree that by I mean I'm thinking about my daughter when she met her husband, but when they were just dating for the first time, they were like going on this date and their car broke down and something really bad happened to the car. And it was like this huge thing where he could have exploded and been really angry and been like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. And now we got to do A, B, and C. And oh my goodness, and freak out. And this is Ashley, my oldest daughter, when she met Derek. And he was like, well, okay, where's the phone? Like, we got to call and figure it out. And that is what made her smitten. Like, he is in control. He's not freaking out over everything. He doesn't have to, show me how tough he is by getting angry in the situation or whatever. And I thought, just being in control of our thoughts and our feelings and then let them, like, what do we do now? Like, I mean, that part and how we can react in a calm way. But these are the words that I was thinking when you give up your control or you give up those expectations is patience, unconditional love for someone by not judging them, acceptance was another word. And did I already say unconditional love?
Yep.
And being calm. Just in these situations, like just stop and to think, okay, this is the situation, kind of like the car situation. Now what do we do? Like, what can I do? The situation with Mel when she had her friend, girlfriends, it was like, it's okay to feel those feelings. We all know that, right? Like, feel the feelings. I'm so jealous. I'm so upset. Like, how did I get left out? And then be like, oh, well, I'm going to have my own party and I'm going to, plan my own thing. And I'm going to make my own plans to ABC, to do whatever you want control with. And I've seen Kim do this. I've seen Kim do this with one of her daughters who's can be hard sometimes, or used to be a long time ago. But, just like, okay, this is happening. That's really, really hard. But what am I going to do? And how do I react? And, try to just
just think of like, it's really being creative. You got to be creative, you know, and it's like, okay, my creativity is coming out right now because I've got to think of another way to respond.
Honestly, I wish everybody had a sister like Kendra. During those times, it was so nice to have a sister who's so non-judgmental and you can just tell things to, and you get a different perspective that just says, okay, like she's like Derek. Okay, now what are we gonna do? So it's awesome. Anyway, no, I like those things that you put down, Kendra, patience. If you can think about what you're learning during the moment, that's kind of cool too.
Mhm.
And it's okay to have those moments where
We
you're
all
really
have.
upset for a minute or for a while, you know, it's like, oh, how did this happen? And you feel these things, you know, it's a real thing, especially if it means so much to you, something that means a lot to you. And then you have to figure out a different way, you know.
So a couple things. Feelings are valid. Everyone's feelings are valid. So if Derek being calm, right, his feeling calm was valid. Let's say it was John that she dated instead, and John did erupt and get angry and upset and mad, John's feelings would be valid too. Okay, so our feelings come from what we're thinking and believing in that moment, period. We can't control our thoughts and our feelings. We have 40 to 80,000 thoughts. It's the estimates are all over the map, but around that every day. And most of those thoughts are repetitive, right? So we got to think that our brain has to process so much information all day long, right? Operate our heart, our lungs, all these things that are non-conscious. So that's part of that. We can't control our thoughts, because if right now I told you, don't think about cotton candy, don't think about pink cotton candy, don't think about cotton candy at the fairgrounds, don't think about them making cotton candy at the fairgrounds, don't think about cotton candy stuck to your mouth or all over your kid drooling out of their mouth. Are you thinking about cotton candy? Yeah. So we can't stop our thoughts. We can't control our thoughts. What we can do is learn to train our brain and mind to work for us, right? We can create stronger neural pathways to the right side of our brain, which is the creative side of our brain, which I love that word, the calm, the acceptance, the unconditional loving side, the side of the brain that's creative and innovative and loving, all the positive feelings. We can train our brain to live on that side more than the right or the left side. That's the fear-based, the anger, the rage, the frustration, the irritating, all the negative feelings, right? We can't take a lobotomy and get rid of the left side of the brain. We need it to protect us and serve us. We can't control our thoughts and feelings. So that's why when I said earlier about the column of, what things that we can control, and that's managing our own actions, our response to the stimuli outside of us, right? We can't control things outside of us, but we can command our brain to work for us and respond to the car breaking down. We can respond to calmly and effectively taking a deep breath, whatever grounding you need, which is utilizing one of your 5 senses, sight, smell, taste, feeling, hearing. Slow down, utilize one of those senses or more than one of those senses, access the right side of our brain, which is where wisdom comes from, creativity, and make a choice, right? We have a lot more choice when we're in a creative, calm state of mind. When we're acting out of fear and anger and rage and all the other negative things, we get tunnel vision, and we don't always see as me, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all those things. Everything becomes really difficult, really challenging, and we usually are in conflict. Well, I could do this or I could do that, and it's usually black and white. It's usually one extreme or the other, and it's out of reaction versus response. So I love your share, Kendra. The only thing I wanted to add is the language piece. And I love the story. Thank you for sharing the story of Ashley and Derek. And interesting that, because same thing, how I was raised and my experience in the first half of my life, or not half, first quarter of my life, was that's what I saw. That's what I experienced, was hot-tempered, violent anger all the time. So me too. If I would have been Ashley on the side of the road with Derek, someone I had very little familiarity with, my life experience would say, Derek is about to freak out and start throwing things and blaming me for this. So it's really fascinating that we can project our own life experiences out on someone else and kind of get prepared for it, arm ourselves, right? That's what I heard in your share too.
There's one more thing I wanted to add about the let me though, that is, because Catherine, you know, I'm always trying to fix things. So Kendra and I have a mutual sister. There's 5 of us girls, and I had heard something that another sister had said about me that really hurt my feelings. Now, I might have just said, let her, and moved on, but it still kind of festered inside of me, and I was kind of having a little bit of bad feelings. And so I thought, well, I'm going to just talk to her and ask her if there's, you know, anything we need to clear up, you know? So I did reach out, and you know what she said? She said, thank you for opening up the dialogue. I thought that was such an incredible response. Anytime anybody criticizes me, that's exactly what I'm going to go to, because I've apologized so many times for things I haven't even done just to make things better. And I don't need to do that. I need to just say, thank you for opening up the dialogue. The second my sister said that, there was nothing but love. And we are so close now. It's so cool that I thought that was such a mature response of her. And that's just kind of my new mantra now, because I'm going to get criticized my entire life. That's just how, you know, we all are going to. We can't control what other people say or think about us. And it's so nice to respond in that way. So sometimes we can say let them, but then sometimes there is maybe a step we can take to nurture a relationship.
What I will say about that experience is, if we get triggered by someone criticizing or judging us, that's something for us to heal. That's something for us to work on. And the only way we can heal that is to lean in and do exactly what you did. Open up the dialogue, open up your heart, vulnerability, and say, I heard what you said. Could you share with me what it is I need to work on, right? It's all about me, right? In a good way, in a vulnerable way. I hear you, and look for the truth in it. There's 2% truth in it, somewhere, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And the more we do that, the less triggered we will be, because we're reassuring our brain and our nervous system that it's safe to open up the dialogue.
I just learned so much through that one simple sentence that she said, thank you for opening up the dialogue. Thank you for being patient with me. Of course, she could have reacted differently, you know, and that might have changed the whole thing. I don't know. But anyway, I learned a lot about that response. It's something I've written down. I'm going to memorize. I'm going to always use that when someone criticizes me. And I really want to know. Thank you. What is it? A blind spot I'm not seeing. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for everyone showing up. Again, next week, same time. It's not going to be on Luma. That's where we started. I'm moving it to my website. I tried to get the link tonight before jumping on here, and it wasn't cooperating. Well, actually, I think I can give it to you guys.
Is this
Also,
once a week or once a month? Is it once a week?
Once a week.
every week. So cool. So I know Shayna and Jenny.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I guess it was
Linda.
Linda. Okay, Linda. Yeah.
Julie had to leave. I know she had to leave 30 minutes in.
We'll have more, I think, next time.
Yeah.
But
And that's why I'm recording these, so that way if you guys miss 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever, you can catch up. So
I
but
want to thank you, Catherine. You could be charging a ton for this. You could be, because people do. And I think it's really generous of you to do this for free.
it's a gift. I
Yeah.
enjoy this. I look, I'm learning from you guys. You guys are my teachers. So all I'm doing is sharing my Zoom. But thank you. I love seeing everybody's faces here. Again, thank you. And I'll see you next week. If not the week after, whatever works for you guys, I'll be here.
I was wondering about the workbook. Are we supposed to get the work? Is there a workbook or something? Oh, there's no workbook. Okay. Sorry. Must have been a different. Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. See you next
Thank you
week.
so
It's just
much.
a book.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet
Bye.
everybody.
Meet you all.
Bye-bye.